Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Jamie, aka Rick here, bringing you part 43 of my GTA4 Let's Play. In this episode, as you can see, I'll go and see Mr. Gravelli again. His condition isn't getting any better, so yeah, he's pretty much, he's dying at the moment. He's terminally ill, so he's having a lot of people visiting him apparently, but he's still got work for me to do, so it hasn't finished yet. And this one, he sends me to this, I don't really know what you call it, it's basically a warehouse type of thing, and he's asked me to destroy a load of vans that containing, I think it's drugs, most likely is, it's Grand Theft Auto, it's probably what it is, but I have to climb up on the roof and take down a hell of a lot of people before I actually get that far, so that's a quite big shootout at the start, and you know, you get flanked as well, which is interesting. So that doesn't normally happen, but when you'll see when I get there, I'm on the rooftop and they actually come up the stairs behind me. But I'm ready, so I kind of expected it. Playing like, you know, first-person shooters, you're always wary of your surroundings. But I was actually shocked when they actually did come up there, so that was good. After that, I do 3 assassination missions. The first one is I've got to take out a guy that's just been released on bail. So someone doesn't want him to be released on bail, so you know, I take him down. Next one is a gang, I think, a large group of people. For some reason they're not too popular, so I get out my RPG. I think it takes two RPG shells, take out about 10 people, so it's a lot easier than actually using a gun. So that was pretty cool. And then I have to take out a limo. It's obviously got someone important in it, or not so important to someone, but yeah, again, take out their escorts with the RPG and then chase them down and eventually take them out with the SMG that I have. So it's not a huge amount of missions, but the assassination missions are made a lot easier with the good weaponry that I have, especially the RPG makes everything super easy. So yeah, that's pretty much what happens in the video. So before I get onto my topic, I'd just like to say that, as you know, I'm going away on holiday. I have enough videos for when I go, so don't expect anything to change. Even I won't be at home. I'll still upload same time, like the same amount as I normally do. I've even got some StarCraft games to cover the Saturdays while I'm away, so that'd be good. It's gone pretty well. Impressed with how much work I've actually got done in between watching MLG over the weekend and working, you know, and keeping up, you know, with the games that I like to play that I don't record. So I mean, I've done pretty well, I think. So yeah, no videos will be missed over the next few weeks, which is good. I wasn't sure if I could actually get them all out, but it turns out that I have. So that's one thing. Another thing is I recently bought a camera, which I've never had, you know, a video camera. I've never actually owned one before, and I might be vlogging in the future. It won't be straight away. I've also bought a webcam, so both in HD. So, but yeah, I might do some vlogs when I'm walking around. I might even do some on holiday. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so you might actually see some real life footage in the future. Another thing I was also thinking of doing with the camera is I play World of Warcraft, and I've got a pretty sick mouse. It's got it's the Razer Naga, so I'll get onto it in a minute, but I was going to do some gameplay of WoW and show you how I incorporate that into World of Warcraft, as well as some other games, just to show you like the wide range of uses that the Razer Naga actually can give you. So that brings me on to the topic for the video. It's peripherals, which is basically accessories that I use, or I would recommend to you to use if you play certain games, or you know, are reasonably serious about gaming and you like to be competitive. I'm going to start off, since I've already mentioned it, with my gaming mouse, which not the first one I've had. I've had a Razer Death Adder, which is a pretty high DPI, which basically means how fast it can move, which that's the long and short of it, is how fast it can move across whatever surface it is, and how quickly you can move your cursor around on the screen. It's just a fancy word. I'm not exactly sure what it stands for, but But yeah, it's that's basically what it means. So the higher DPI, obviously the quicker the mouse moves across the screen. And obviously for first-person shooters, a high DPI is really important, because you can get those quick reaction flick shots, which I'm getting better at. My reactions are improving. Being a mainly console player, but previously my reactions weren't what they could be, so we're getting there. But yeah, so the Razer Naga, if you haven't seen it before, I might post a link in the description if I actually remember to do it. It's got like 17 buttons, I think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's got about 17 buttons, and it's got 12 buttons on the side, which line up with either the 1, 2, like plus sign on the go along the top of your keyboard, or the number pad to the right hand side of your keyboard. Whichever you prefer, you can change between the two. So obviously for World of Warcraft, as you know, that top line 1 to equals is your standard cast bar, so like where all your spells appear. So obviously that's hugely useful, because you don't have to click anymore or use the numbers to actually press, you know. So you can always have your hand on WASD, so you can always move. You haven't ever got to take your hand off them, and you can still cast all your spells. So that's mainly what I use it for. It's for World of Warcraft. So obviously then you can just press Control, and then you've got another 12 buttons. So and then Shift, and you've got another 12. So you've easily got 36 buttons that you can all use with your thumb. So it is insane amount of customization that you can get with it. So I'd definitely recommend, if you play a lot of MMOs especially, it's really useful. So obviously you can program whatever you want pretty much, whereas World of Warcraft you've got the huge amount of key bindings you can do, and definitely with this mouse you can have a huge lot of variety in just using your thumb. So yeah, obviously it's remembering where all your keys are, so it's useful to have on your, like, download like a hotbar add-on, so you can actually arrange it in the 3x4 of the like it is on the mouse. So when you look on your screen, you naturally recognize where the spell is in that bar, and then you can just use your thumb to find where that button is on the mouse. It was weird to start with, I will admit, remembering where the buttons are just by touch, but after a little while, after about a week or two, I got pretty good with it, and now it's been probably like half a year or so, something like that. Not quite that long, but I'm pretty smooth with it now. See, as I level up my classes in World of Warcraft, I move it around a little bit, but if I get a warrior, I will put the spells in exactly the same order as I have on all my other warriors. So if I load up my warrior, I know like exactly where everything is, so I can pretty much do it without even looking at my like where all my spells and it are now with my warrior. So because I've played it for so much using the mouse, it's kind of like, you know, muscle memory, which is what you need really to be effective with this mouse. What other games you can use it for? Definitely StarCraft, because obviously you've got the hotkeys for your buildings and units and stuff. I use it for that. So it improves my macro a little bit, because I'm horrible at reaching up towards the keys. I've never been amazingly good at it. I generally use those keys just to like build the units and stuff, so I'm always hovering around like SA, like, you know, around that area, because that is a lot of Terran units around there, so that's super useful that I don't have to move up to select my buildings and units. I just use my thumb instead. So I think it does help quite a lot to have this mouse for StarCraft as well. I also use it for first person shooters, believe it or not. So I like program, say, special grenades and all my reload and all that to my mouse, so again I don't have to take my fingers off the, you know, movement keys, which again I think is hugely important, because, you know, normally you have to take your hand off the D key to go to the R when you want to reload in, say, Call of Duty, but I don't. I can strafe to the side and just hit 1 and reload quite easily. So my normal setup is like 1 is reload, 2 is grenade, 3 is special grenade. So you scroll wheel is switch weapons, and like I think it's 5 is your kill streak rewards, 4 is like equipment, stuff like that. So it's really easy to remember, and it's all in one place, so it's super useful. Yeah, so that pretty much covers like the Razer Naga. It's definitely useful. You can customize it to be really helpful for whatever game you play, pretty much. I can't think of a game that I play, like multiplayer wise, that it doesn't help on, to be honest. Apart from like League of Legends, obviously, because it doesn't use the number keys at all. So games like that, obviously, it's not too useful. But if you're using a game that normally uses number keys or has like a significant key binding options, then the Razer Naga is hugely useful. So it just frees up your left hand to stay on your movement, or do something else. Like in StarCraft, obviously, you select buildings and stuff, and switch between them and build units, whatever. It just frees up your options, makes you have to do less with your left hand and a little bit more with your right, but it's quite easy to control once you get used to it. But yeah, so that wraps up on the Razer Naga. I'd definitely say if it's quite expensive, so if you can't afford it and you're looking for first person shooter mouse, probably not recommend it. I'd recommend maybe the Death Adder. It's a really nice mouse. It fits well in your hand, 'cause it's quite a large mouse, but it still runs really smoothly, so I'd recommend that. That is really nice. But again, if you can't afford that, then just make sure it has a high DPI. That's pretty much what you're after in a gaming mouse. So the faster you can move with it, the better off you are. So if you can't afford a Razer, which I know they are quite expensive for what they are, but I pretty much swear by them. So their keyboard's a lot less, so they are pretty dodgy, but for mouses they are definitely good. We're going to move on to headsets, another really important thing. Not so much for StarCraft and World of Warcraft. Obviously, you don't really need a headset for any of that. I know some people in World of Warcraft use, say, like in PvE, if the boss is saying something, then they know that's a trigger for they're doing some sort of spell. I know there's some people that do that. So maybe you'd want a decent headset, just so you wouldn't miss that. But in general, you don't really need a fantastic headset for either StarCraft or World of Warcraft. But for first-person shooters, it's hugely helpful to have a surround sound headset. So obviously it blocks out sound around you, and you can hear people's footsteps around you, which is probably one of the most important things, and the main reason why you need to buy a headset for first-person shooters. So if obviously you've got someone walking up behind you, then you can hear them in your headset because it's surround sound. Obviously you can still hear behind you, and you can quickly spin around and take them out, because they don't expect you to be able to turn around that quickly and actually hear them. So but they might not know you've got this headset. More so on Xbox, because I think everyone on PC now does have a really good headset. So but yeah, definitely for Xbox I would recommend getting a surround sound headset. I mean, I've got the X1s, which they sell in game now. It's like £30, something like that. They're pretty cheap. They do the work that you need them to do. But if you can afford it, then definitely go for something like the Astro A40s, which I know a lot of pro gamers swear by, because they are like amazingly good. They've got the mix amp with them as well, so you can adjust your sounds really easily. You can up your obviously teammates speak. You can change, like, say the rear volume, like behind you. You can make that higher than anything else, so that's actually plays louder, so you can recognise it more. So to start with, you will struggle to actually pinpoint their direction and distance. I think direction is a lot easier than distance with a surround sound headset, as obviously naturally in real life you can tell by a sound where it's coming from, but it's hard to tell the distance, and that is what takes the most practice. If you use your headset a lot, and every time you play, just put it on, even if you're not playing, you're just playing for fun, still just put it on and try and listen out, and or you can even go into a custom match and practice with a friend, if it's I did a little bit of that. I used to play a lot of custom matches on COD 4, and I just put my headset on while we were playing that, and I actually found it super useful. We used to play Mike Myers on COD 4. Obviously for that you can hear where they're coming from, and then just playing that over and over again with my friends while using my headset, I gradually got to tell like how far away they were. But that is definitely the hardest bit for a surround sound headset. It's telling the distance away they are. And again, if it's like a multi-story building, you sometimes can't tell whether they're on your floor or the one below or the one above, and that depends on where you are. But yeah, over time it will become a lot easier, and you will get that control, and you'll know exactly where they are, and you can become a lot more deadly. I'd say it's the best usage of a headset is in search and destroy, obviously, because it's a lot more slow paced, it's a lot more tactical. But even if free for all, again, it's really useful because everyone else that you can hear is an enemy. So the only thing that I find really annoying is when your teammates aren't using, say, Ninja in Call of Duty or something like that. Then obviously you can hear them as well, and they can put you off a little bit. But overall, it's not too bad if you get a decent team. Most of them will be running Ninja, so yeah, that's the headset. Again, really useful for once you've practiced with it enough and can tell direction and distance. It's probably one of the most important things for a console gamer, definitely, and a PC gamer, but console more, I would say. It seems to be more popular anyway. What else? Like mods, not obviously not turbo controllers, I wouldn't say, but controller mods like Control Freaks I know are really popular. So basically they make the thumbstick longer so you can get more precise movements. So obviously with a thumbstick it's quite a short move distance, but if you up your sensitivity a bit and use a Control Freak, it makes your joystick a lot longer, so you can move it a tiny little bit, whereas before you've got a lot less control. So I know they're really popular, especially with first person shooters. The triggers, for the proper triggers for the PS3 controller, I know they're really popular as well, because I find it myself that my fingers slip off the R2, L2 buttons on the PS3 controller. But if you get the trigger mods, I think you can buy them from like game stores or stuff like that, like popular game stores. They're really cheap, and they just clip on to the back of like your L1, L2, R2 buttons, and they got a bit of grip. They're more like the Xbox 360 triggers then, and your fingers don't fall off them. So again, they're super useful. Controllers, I've recently seen the Razer controller for the Xbox. It looks amazing, and I'm sure it is. So I've got, as standard, like really sensitive joysticks, and you can up and down like the force that you have to put on to move the stick. Like, I know some people play on insanely high sensitivity, but for me, I can't do that. But if I could maybe up the resistance on the thumbstick a little bit, so I wouldn't go spinning around in circles crazily, I think that'd be super handy, because then I could rank up my sensitivity, and I could make those quick turns when I needed to, but also have the control when I don't need to, which is the main thing for me. So I think that'd be pretty useful. And you've obviously got, with Razer products, you've always got programmable buttons. Again, would be really useful. And you've got, I think you got an extra bumper on the top on each side, which again be really useful for those people who played like Bumper Jumper in Halo 3. Would find that a lot easier, I think, because obviously then you've got the 2 triggers at the back, and then 4 bumpers instead of just the 2 you've got on the normal Xbox controller. So again, you can have your melee, I think it was, that went down to B, or change weapon, no, it went down to B, so you could still have that up at the top, and you wouldn't have to take your thumbs off the thumbsticks again. So I think just adding those 2 buttons in on the Razer controller will help a lot in first person shooters. So anytime you have to take your thumb off the thumbstick, is obviously time you're losing aiming or moving, so you want to try and minimise that as much as you can. And I think with that Razer controller you would be able to do that, so I could see myself buying one of them in the future, but I can't see them being used at events, because I would imagine they'd give an unfair advantage if everyone wasn't using them. But hopefully they'll come around to it and realise that they're really popular and people would actually use them, like headsets. To start with, obviously they weren't all this surround sound and everything, but now I know at MLG they use Astro A40s for everyone, or everyone seems to bring their own and they support them. They've got all the mix amps there already, so but yeah, that's pretty much wraps it up. That's a list of like peripherals that I recommend. As I said, I'll recap quickly. First person shooter, you want a high DPI mouse just so you can react quickly to things that happen. For MMOs, I definitely recommend the Razer Naga, just because you've got all those buttons on your thumb that frees up your left hand to do other things like moving, more important stuff. Surround sound headsets, again for first person shooters, super important, so you can hear where people are around you and what's going on. Like you can hear grenades cooking, stuff like that. In Halo you can hear grenades bouncing off walls and off the ground, and in Halo Reach you can hear the sprint animation, which is super helpful. Controllers, the Razer one definitely is probably the best example. More buttons, obviously customizable buttons, so you can move your whatever so you can have whatever configuration you want, which is the only downside of console gaming for me, is there isn't enough configuration, whereas with PC gaming you can pretty much bind whatever you want to whatever key. So then slight mods like control freaks and things like that, the triggers for the PS3 controller, they're really useful if you struggle with your sensitivity maybe, or you get the control freaks. I definitely recommend them. Or if you're losing grip occasionally on your PS3 triggers at like key moments, then buy the add-ons for them. Again, I would recommend them. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye for now.